iPadOS 18.2 Beta 1 is now available, which brings the second set of Apple Intelligence features for iPadOS, which will be coming to eligible iPads in December. Now, you might be asking why this video is so late. Well, unlike in 18.1 when there was a waitlist and I got it almost immediately, there was a second waitlist for these features, and it took about a week for me to gain access to Image Playground and stuff like that. And I really didn't want to make this video without talking about those key features, but they're here now, and here we go. Image Playground is a new application in iPadOS 18.2 that leverages generative AI to allow users to create custom images using prompts or images of other people or other things in their photo library. Let's go ahead and start the app here. So you'll notice here we start with a prompt asking us to describe an image or take one of the suggestions along the bottom of the list here. If you tap show more here, you can see there are a number of themes besides these that are along the bottom here: sci-fi, Halloween, fantasy, plenty of options here. And along the bottom, we have our text field to enter a prompt. We're actually able to choose a person with a picker here, if there's a particular person you want to create an image of, and your styles here. Now, Apple kind of set this up front here, but for Image Playground, they're intentionally choosing styles that are a little more cartoony. They don't want to get into the business of trying to create realistic images that could potentially be used to mislead or fool people. So your two styles options you have are animation and illustration, and I'll show both of those in a minute. And then you can also here pick a random image from your image gallery or take a picture with the iPad camera. So let's start looking at the type of images it can create. The first suggestion it has is a picture of me. Let's just go with that. You see my picture moves into the orbit, and then it creates an image based on that. So it's not great. I look a little goofy, but it's kind of in the ballpark, I guess. I have options here along the bottom of the image to thumbs up or thumbs down the image because, again, Apple Intelligence is in beta, so Apple's looking for feedback here. If I tap the buttons here, I have an option to copy it, share it via the share sheet, or save it to my photo gallery. I'm going to swipe along the image here and get some other options, different clothing. Still kind of weird look on my face, but you get the idea. Now, say I want to customize this a little bit more. I still have more suggestions along the bottom here. I'm going to add a bow tie to this, and let's see what it does. You see both images are kind of in this orbit. That's all applied to generate kind of a custom prompt to generate the image. Then you see it's an image of the thing that looks like me with a bow tie. Again, different options here. Tap out of it. And of course, I can remove things to customize this a little bit more. I want to add space to this real quick. I'm curious what this will do. And there's me in space. So you get the idea there. Now, if I just take a suggestion, just top hat, it'll generate an image of a top hat with a top hat. Obviously, Apple's not immune to the weirdness of AI generated images. It will occasionally create some oddities, but it's kind of what you accept when you're opting into this technology. So I want to do a custom prompt here. So let's do, let's say, an alligator holding a sword. Let's see what it can do. Pretty straightforward. It did it kind of exactly how I thought it would. And swipe through again. These all pretty much look the same with some minor variations. And again, we can add more kind of context to this photo here. So I could add Starry Night to it. And the background turns to a starry night. I could add fantasy to it. It's more of a fantasy-ish background. And let's add my picture. Let's see what happens. I don't know what that line is on my forehead. I don't know what's happening to my hair. There's the alligator. That's something. Oof. I aged like 10 years here. Let's look at those styles real quick. So this has been the animation style. If I tap illustration, regenerates the image. Man, so that aged me like 20 years. That or I look older than I think. Jeez, oh Pete's. You get the idea. It's image generation, just like you expect from the other AI generation tools out there. So once you're done with your image, if you want to save it, you can. I just hit done here, hit back, it gets added to your image playground gallery. Now you can also access your image playground images from messages. So if I go into messages and I go to the plus button, you'll see there's an image playground iMessage app. And this gives you pretty much the same options you got from the image playground app itself. But you can generate your images right in the messages app and send them directly from there. When I hit the X, you see that there's an option for my library where I can access that image I generated, and if for some reason I wanted to send that to someone, I could do that very easily. I think the Apple Intelligence image feature I've been looking forward to the most is Image Wand, which is in this beta. Now, Image Wand is a capability that's right now only in Apple Notes, but it basically is going to use generative AI to try to take sketches and notes content and transform them into more fully realized images. Now, there's two ways I found so far that this works. So the first example here, I have a kind of contrived example. I'm describing a house on the left-hand side here, and I've got these details about the roof, the siding, number of windows on the front. So the first way you can use Image Wand is to allow the system to take content of your note as context that it uses when it generates the image. So I'll take my pencil, I'm going to squeeze it, and you'll see in the palette here we have this, what looks like a magic wand. That's the image wand. I'm going to select that. And then in some open space here, I'm just going to draw a circle. And you'll see that it's actually taking some of the details that I've written down there as prompt details as it's generating the image. And actually, for what I was envisioning, it got close-ish. I didn't get the fence, there's no garage, but it got some of the core details. And I can swipe through here for other examples, of course. And I could even add more context. Let's say yellow front door. That gets added. And now it's the house image has been regenerated with a yellow front door, which is kind of cool. And I can, of course, change the style. Right now it's in sketch, but I could switch it to be illustration. Doesn't look half bad. It's actually closer. Or this animation style. So that's an example of using Image Wand to generate an image off of note context. The other way you can use Image Wand is just with a rough sketch that you may have already put together. So I'm going to do this real quick. It's going to be super rough. But I'm just going to draw a house, sun, and some ground. It's beautiful. All right, so now I want Image Wand to take this image and see what it can do. So again, I'll squeeze to pull up the palette. I'm going to select the Image Wand, circle my masterpiece, and now it wants a little more context. So words that describe this image. I'm going to say sunny house. Let's see what it does with that. Okay, it's actually not bad. I mean, I didn't have any water, but got the house in the sun, so it's really all I was looking for. Like that there's a mansion here. So cool, I actually might use that. And you can see in the context here, it's using that sunny house prompt as well as my image and come up with something that's reasonably close. So it's actually really cool. Again, I believe this is only in Notes right now, so it'd be great if it would become available in other apps, but I could see where this would be kind of useful. Genmoji is a tool that, as the name kind of implies, uses generative AI to create custom emojis. The way you access Genmoji is through the emoji picker. So if I tap this, And I'm going to go into my emoji. You see in what's normally the search prompt, the placeholder text now says describe an emoji. So I can search for one I know exists, like, laughing face, and get the emoji that I expect. I can also describe an emoji that doesn't exist. Let's say human fly. And of course, there's no results in the standard emoji set, but there's an option here that says create new emoji. So let's see what horrible thing this will generate. Okay, it wants more context. A fly in human form. Basically just what I said. Okay, it did not nail what I was going for. Let's try something easier. A turtle with a hat. But I can do this. Okay, now we're at least in the ballpark. This is really kind of what I was going for here. So I'm going to select this one, and the emoji gets placed there, and I can send it on. So with 18.2, Apple finally brings the promised ChatGPT integration with Siri. So to start off, keep in mind this is entirely optional and it is off by default. So if you are privacy concerned and don't want any of your data going to OpenAI, just ignore this. You don't have to use it if you choose not to. Now, if you want to, how you get to it is in Settings, under Apple Intelligence and Siri. Now when you scroll down, there's an option that says ChatGPT. If you tap on that, you have an option to turn this on, and there's some detail about what its capabilities are, writing text, creating images. You can also sign in to your ChatGPT account, whether you have a free account or a paid account. Now, to be clear, you don't need to sign in with an account to use ChatGPT. But if you want to, then your requests will get saved to your account, and presumably it can pull in any personal context it has for you in ChatGPT if you set that up to improve the quality of request. I'm not sure. Underneath it is confirm ChatGPT requests. So by default, before Siri sends anything to ChatGPT, it'll prompt you, say, hey, do you really want me to send this to ChatGPT? Now, if you're tired of those, you can flip the switch, and Siri will, in most cases, not ask you and just go ahead and send the request to ChatGPT. So enough talking. Let's see what this looks like. So let's start with one of the things I know ChatGPT does, and that's generating text. Write me a bedtime story. Okay, you see I get this prompt asking if it can use ChatGPT. I'm going to say yes. It's working. Taking longer than I would like. And then we get what looks like a very reasonable bedtime story. Now, just so I can show this, I'm going to turn off the confirm ChatGPT requests and try the same thing. Write me a bedtime story. Okay, see, this time I didn't get the prompt, and the request was sent right to ChatGPT, which sent me another, or maybe the same, reasonable looking bedtime story. Now, the one area I found this didn't seem to matter was in photos, because one of the things you can do is ask ChatGPT what's in a photo. So for example, if I grab this picture of my dog here, I can ask Siri slash ChatGPT, what kind of dog is this? And you'll see Siri's prompting me because it needs to send the photo to ChatGPT. It doesn't seem to care that I have that prompt off, so I'm going to say send. And here's what ChatGPT thinks, which funny enough is wrong because she's a husky, but you get the idea. And of course, you can send requests directly to ChatGPT by just telling Siri to. Ask ChatGPT what the weather is in London tomorrow. I have no idea if this is true or not, but that is what that would look like. And turn this back on, try it one more time. Ask ChatGPT what the weather is going to be in London tomorrow. Or interesting to see, if you specifically ask ChatGPT, I'm in this case not getting the prompt. I think Apple is assuming that if you're specifically asking for ChatGPT, they're just going to give it to you and not get in the way. Writing tools, which were just released in iPadOS 18.1, get some small upgrades in this release as well. Pull up the Writing Tools panel by tapping the button in the toolbar, and you'll see a couple changes here. One, I have an option at the top to describe my change, which means instead of just being limited to these three tones, friendly, professional, concise, I can prompt the AI to provide a different tone. So for example, if I say, rewrite this document in Old English. Let's see if it does that. There we go. Hark, a proclamation of joy, the McRib, blah, blah, blah. But you get the idea. Make haste, dear reader, and seek out thy nearest. Yes, this is perfect. I'm never going to use this, but that's so cool. The other change in writing tools is at the bottom here, you see there's a compose option, and this is another example of the ChatGPT integration. So this is really just a built-in way to prompt ChatGPT to generate text for you. So, I could say, write a proclamation about how good McDonald's French fries are. Terrible for you, but they are great. Official proclamation, the unrivaled delight of McDonald's French fries. Beautiful. This is fun. I can see why people mess around with this. 18.2 brings an unexpected new option into settings, and that's a default apps section. So if you're in settings and you scroll down to the apps section, at the top now there's a new default apps option. It more prominently features some of the default apps you can set. And this will vary, of course, depending on if you're in the European Union or if you're not. In the European Union, you're going to have more options because those builds of iPadOS are required to provide more defaults. But for us here in the US, we have setting a default email app, a default messaging app, which I believe is new, default calling, call filtering, browser, which we already had, password managers, and keyboards. So it's nice to have all these in one place and somewhat prominently placed. And hopefully this grows over time. In settings, if you go to the sounds option and you kind of scroll down a bit, there's a new option to limit the volume of the built-in speaker. Tap that, there's this option that says limit maximum volume, and if you tap that, you're able to set a value between 20% and 90% for the max limit that your speaker volume can go. In terms of the recently revamped Control Center, we do have a new option here in 18.2. If you scroll down, there is a toggle for typed Siri. Now, I'm not exactly sure why you would want to toggle this on or off. Maybe because you accidentally trigger it by double tapping the bottom of the screen. I'm not sure, but you now have a quick option to disable that and re-enable it should the need arise. That's going to do it for this one. It was longer than I planned, but there was a lot I wanted to talk about in this release. As usual, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. I appreciate you. If you could like the video and subscribe on your way out, that would help me and the channel out a bunch. Make sure to follow me on social media. I'm on Threads, Mastodon, and Instagram at SlatePad. And with that, I will catch you all in the next one. Take care.